Hi, it's Randy Beckett, and thank you for joining me today. We're going to do a short video on us and um, how we can take care of ourselves. I mean, since COVID started, and even before that, as we know, either when you were in school and studying to be a mental health provider, psychiatric nurse practitioner, family nurse practitioner, uh, social worker, we know that it's been very stressful in this profession, especially with COVID. Some of you had COVID. I had COVID that I picked up from a patient at a contract place I was working. We've had family members that have had COVID. We've had patients that have had COVID, and especially in the long-term care environment, we've had patients who have died from COVID. We watched family members not being able to be with their family members who are in long-term care and people isolated. It's been really, really tough. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about taking care of ourselves. And I have this article that you see right here that I really enjoyed, and I took some things from it, and you can refer to it when you want to. I just Googled self-care for mental health providers, and this popped up. So, and there's the reference that you can take a look at. So I'm going to stop sharing this as you see it now. And I made some notes about this, and we'll talk about that. So one of the things the article mentions, and it's fairly obvious, but we may not think about it, is that we're required by our role to demonstrate empathy, compassion, patience, but unfortunately, we don't have the expectation that that's going to be returned to us. Now, we can develop relationships with patients. I've learned things from patients and their family, and of course, the staff members that we work with. I've had fun. I've laughed. I've had some interesting experiences due to cultural differences from people who grew up in a farm in Iowa versus how I grew up. And so it's been fun, but don't really get that empathy and compassion back that we give to the patients, family members, and even staff members that we talk to. And this is a one-way relationship. So, we're giving a lot, and we get the satisfaction of helping people, but we're not getting much of that compassion back. And, we are also stressed about not so great outcomes. And of course, especially with what we do in long-term care, patients with behaviors and agitation and aggression and urgency expressed to us by staff members. And it's difficult. And it's almost like, especially as nurses and social workers too, although I'm not as familiar with your training, is that, nurses are kind of like, yeah, you just suck it up and you do what you got to do. And if you want to, get more out of it than, just the notion of helping people, well, that's kind of selfish. And that doesn't work for very long. So they mention in the article that that we are powerful, but a vulnerable tool in the caring process. And this is very, very true. I have some knowledge of this vulnerability because on March 15th, 2021, I had a stroke. I had been working very hard, seeing up to like 27 patients a day. Also, helping train providers and helping in other ways with policy and regulations and working with the facilities, and just kept on saying yes and taking on more and more, I mean, willingly, because I was enjoying it. And then, one day I couldn't speak and clearly and couldn't write legibly and couldn't think properly. So that was tough. So I didn't think I was vulnerable, but I was. And it's interesting that this whole vulnerability and self-care actually has some regulatory basis, that the Canadian Code of Ethics for Psychologists says that they're to engage in self-care activities that help avoid conditions like burnout, addictions that could result in impaired judgment, interfere with the ability to benefit and not harm others. So it's an ethical obligation to take care of ourselves. And I'm sure that I know after I had the stroke that I wasn't able to care for people properly because I wasn't working. And then I had to really scale back. And I don't remember, but I would imagine that all that stress over a period of time impaired my ability to care for people before the stroke. So it is an ethical obligation to take care of ourselves because it does impact how we care for people. And in one study, they quote 13% of behavioral health providers were at risk for compassion fatigue or burnout. So that means that at least one or possibly two of us at any time is having a problem with fatigue and burnout as we work with Encounter. So that's pretty serious stuff, and it's very difficult for us to sometimes absorb or acknowledge that. And so in the article, they further talk about some things that can help us in this regard. And the first one is awareness. And I think this may be the most important one because it kind of translates into the rest of the things that they mention. That, just awareness that this can happen to us, awareness that it is happening, and, just not the idea, oh, I just need to take it easy a little bit, or, just relax after work. And sometimes it's more than that, that, we try to meet the needs of our patients and of the facilities where we work. Maybe like I was doing, and I know that some of you have done as well, take on more patients to see them and make sure everybody gets in, and, just a lot of extra time and work and mental fatigue. And sometimes we're just not aware of that because it's just kind of what we're supposed to do, right? But that awareness is important because only with the awareness can we start an intervention for ourselves to take better care of ourselves. One of the things that's important that we've heard a lot about over the past few years is balance, life-work balance. And, that's really difficult to achieve. And going back to the awareness is checking in with ourselves or with loved ones or, colleagues that, do I seem balanced to you? And sometimes, because I know I was hearing this, that, you're working too much, you're doing, no, I'm not. So I didn't have that awareness. and I didn't have the balance, and I didn't have the awareness that I didn't have the balance. So that was pretty difficult, and led to a bad outcome, and it inevitably will. I mean, you just can't keep that up for very long without something happening. Also, the flexibility. My work with the company, I have seen great flexibility, not only when I had family members have healthcare problems, but also with myself, that I needed to, either I was sick, and of course, sometimes sickness just comes up overnight and you wake up and you're sick or throwing up, or had migraines and stuff, and you just can't function that day. Flexibility in order to take a day for that, or flexibility in advance. Hey, I don't want to miss a day's work because I get behind, but then I also, it's an income thing at times. But I need to exercise a little flexibility and say, hey, in a week or two, I'm going to take this day. I don't want to schedule any patients. So that rigidity of just, plowing straight ahead and working, and once again, the awareness that we're doing that is really important. Our physical health, of course, we all know and have heard about, proper diet and exercise and things like that. And it translates into our mental awareness and our ability to do the job, and also, can add more stress, increase cortisol levels based on, what we're eating, and, exercise that we're getting. And that's, that has a big impact on us. Social support. We know from lots of recent research that for longevity and overall health, that one of the most important things is the support we have with family, with friends, with social connections. And that, in these blue zone communities all over the world, and people who are, healthier, more satisfied with life, content, the Finns, the happiest country in the world, that there's a lot of social connection, and that social support is really important. And that's one of the things sometimes we'll sacrifice on the altar of, taking care of patients. And going back to the awareness of being aware, hey, I'm just not, working or hanging out with people, or my family or friends, I'm not engaging or connecting. And that can be really, really difficult. And then the last thing that they have is spirituality. But spirituality also kind of relates to social support for a lot of us, with a church or a synagogue or a mosque or a Buddhist temple or a group that we go to. And that's really important as well. Meditation, prayer, whatever you do for self-care, and maybe taking some extra time in the morning rather than just diving right in and checking social media or the news, or just spending even 10 minutes has been found in just some quiet time to just give your brain a rest and rejuvenate. And another thing that wraps up into all this is, in the 12-step communities, they have a lot of acronyms and sayings, and one of them of the acronyms is HALT. So that when you're feeling out of sorts, or maybe just checking in with yourself, this awareness, and HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And that self-assessment for me has been really effective. Hey, have I eaten? I'm feeling kind of irritable. What's going on with that? Why am I angry all of a sudden? What am I doing? Do I need to intervene in myself with myself for some reason? I'm so, irritable and angry, or lonely. Have I not been, checking in or hanging out with my family or friends, or, um, or tired? Maybe I just need a nap. Maybe I need to go to bed early instead of watching my latest binge on TV. So HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, I have found to be useful to check in with those, with myself, and prescribe my own intervention. So thanks for watching today. Let's take care of ourselves, because it doesn't work not to. It's the talk about an evidence base. This has a very powerful evidence base, and we need to be aware of that. So thanks very much. Thank you for what you do, and for taking care of people all over this great country, and putting yourselves out there, and helping in the way you do. Thank you very much.